to the foot and ankle orthopaedic surgeon. As you all know, Lachlan Ilias suffered a tibial fracture a few days ago in the New South Wales Cup. This is a picture of that tackle. The force from the defender was going downwards at level of his ankle, whereas Lachlan was obviously placing an upward force while trying to kick the ball. This would have created a pretty big lever force at the middle of the tibia, which we're just going to mark in yellow there, and that's a potential site of fracture and may explain his injury. Although the other place he could have had a fracture is where the defender actually struck him down near the ankle there. We've marked that out there with a yellow arrow. Now, the NRL physio, it's a great source of information, has indicated that Lachlan's going to go for surgery to his tibia or shin bone for a break in that area, and then he may have a rod or a nail or possibly a plate and screws. Now, Lachlan's Instagram post is a fair indicator of what injury he's had. He's actually pictured in a moon boot, and I can tell you that surgeons would not treat someone with a fracture in the middle of their tibia in a moon boot. They generally put them in a plaster that goes up above the level of the knee. So that indicates that his tibia fracture is probably more towards the side of his ankle than in the middle of his shin. So that yellow arrow there is around the middle of his shin. That's not what we think the fracture he's had. If he did have that fracture, it would look something like this, which is a fracture in the middle of the tibia there. We'll just mark those fractures out from the front and the side views of where the fibula would break if that was the injury. But this is not the injury we think he had. If that was the case, he'd likely require a rod, something like this. And actually, funnily enough, this would be a better one to recover from. That rod is usually a stronger construct. Unfortunately, based on the moon, but it's probably unlikely he's had this injury. The more likely one he's had is a fracture further down, where the yellow arrow is in this part here, closer to the ankle. And this is probably more like what his fracture looked like. So the fracture is further down the tibia. We're going to take a good look at it here. We'll mark out the fracture there for you with the white arrow. This x-ray has actually got a fibular fracture next to it, which has not been reported in Lachlan, but often occurs with that fracture level. And this would be something like the hardware that's going to go into his ankle. It's fixed around the tibia there with a couple of plates. In addition, there's a plate around the fibula as well there. And that'll mean that he can't put any weight on the leg for at least 6 weeks. He may get some stiffness in his ankle. If the fracture extends into the joint, the ankle joint, which is marked there in a red arrow, the injury tends to be worse and can result in more stiffness and a higher rate of arthritis to the ankle. So hopefully he hasn't had that one. Hopefully it's a fracture that's outside the joint, but it will take him on average 42 weeks to recover. Take a look at our other videos here for other NRL injuries, or please subscribe to the Foot and Ankle Orthopaedic Surgeon. Thanks for listening, guys.